When you work giving 100% of your all day in and day out for a few weeks on end, you realize how much of a bitch you've been working like the rest of your life. Even when I thought I was working hard in the past, it doesn't even come close to what I'm doing right now. For the hours, the efficiency, the effectiveness, the results, right now, it's incredible. And so, because the work I've put in has shown such incredible results so quickly, I've been working with some new people. It's gone way too good to where there's a lot of pressure, but also your ego is very high. Today, I was talking to Kenny McElroy, an actual billionaire, one of the guys that I'm working with, and he said when he was younger, 29 to 30, he was crushing it. He was making millions and millions of dollars. And he said the rents were going like this, the property prices were going like this. And he said his ego was going like this, completely through the roof. And he said, when you're young, you think that you're invincible. He said he thinks everything you're doing is working because it's you. And that really hit. I was like, my ego is way too high right now. He said, you really can't reflect and let go of that ego until you get punched in your face enough times. He said, once you have, though, he said, you can start to do something pretty magical. He said, there's three sides to a penny. You have heads, you have tails, and then you have the side in the middle. And he said, that's how ego is. You have high ego, low ego, and then you have that centerpiece in the middle. And if you can place the penny on the middle and be aware of the good, be aware of the bad, and understand both points of view without falling to either good or bad, take the emotion out of it. There's no need. He said, ego is an emotional driver. And the biggest thing that I learned today, we were at a meeting, and I'm not going to say with who because I think a lot of people would know who they are. And the person was trying to add emotion to what we were doing. And then Kenny said, dude, take the emotion out. It does not matter. He said, what metric are we going to look at? And let's just say it was X metric for everyone on YouTube. Let's just say it was YouTube views. He said, that's the most important metric. So if that is our goal, then be unemotional. We can figure out if something's working or if it's not based upon that KPI, which is just a key performance indicator. He said, if we can have that for every single little device, the top priority, we can track to see if we are doing things right or wrong. And so they were making an emotional decision based upon what they wanted to do. And he said, does that increase views or decrease views? And we weren't talking about views, but we're on YouTube, so that's how we're going to describe it. And then they said no. And then that person was able to let go of the emotion because then we were all aligned for the goal. The goal was, let's say, monthly views, weekly views, daily views. How do we increase that? It wasn't views. It was a different metric. But then you reverse engineer how to get there. And there's 100 different KPIs or key performance indicators that lead to that goal. But you can track to see if that is not going up, then you know that something else that you're doing is not working and you have to reflect. So he said whenever he has a property and the rents are below some performance indicator that they have at a standard for themselves, which is very high, then they need to reflect and see what are they doing wrong. It's not emotional. It's not saying, man, we bought a bad property. It's what are we doing wrong? How do we fix it? That's how it is for every single part of his business. You have the massive goal, then their goal is to get to 25,000 units. And then you have the mini goals that every single department works under. So for me, why this is so important is if I was building a department, let's say for my company, for my business, I need to have them all goal oriented. And each one can have sub goals. You can have many goals inside of that viewer base. You can have the quality of viewer, the retention, the subscribers coming per video, the non-subscribers that are watching. There's infinite ways that you could track that view and have sub goals that also matter. But everybody knows that that is the goal. And usually that goal is the one thing that if that increases, everything else comes along. And so you have these all across the business because he has so many aspects across the business. It's incredible. It's incredible. And just watching somebody who's built a company doing billions of dollars that has over 300 employees, all aligned, taking himself outside the business, that is exactly what I want to create. Exactly what I want to create. I want to create something that runs on its own. Everybody is working in tandem towards their goals that all correlate towards the main goal. And it became clear to me today why this motherfucker's so successful. It is wildly clear. He gets done the things that need to be done in an unemotional way. And it's clear in his older age, he's what, 61, 62? He has no ego going into this stuff. So I need to cut my ego. You can either learn lessons the hard way or learn them from other people who learned them the hard way. And fortunate for me, I'm pretty good at understanding when I'm wrong somewhere and someone else is right, and reverse engineering what they did right or what they did wrong so I don't make that same mistake. And I think it's such a big principle that there's just two really big things there. Don't use emotion, use metrics that you can track so you don't have emotion in it, because it's so easy when your livelihood is doing something to be emotional about it. But if you have metrics that you track, you can tell if you are performing well or performing bad unemotionally. And that's the way that I like to operate, but I have been doing that subconsciously. But to consciously have goals to track, metrics that everybody is focused on, then that's how you can really build something that takes off on its own. And that's what he's done. It's amazing. It's amazing. There's so many of those nuggets that you learn being around somebody like that. It's such a fortunate situation. So you guys are hopefully living this secondhand, because I'm just telling you exactly what I learned from this motherfucker. It's wonderful. It is wonderful to be in this position and to have the internet that everybody can learn these same principles. Because what is the overarching goal? If you have 100 people that start a business that are helping billions of people, you are changing the world. So why not just streamline that process for everybody? That's what the internet is doing. It is democratizing and capitalism. Anybody can start a business and anybody can make it successful. And so many people look down upon business owners when businesses fail, when people do not buy the product or service. That means there is not utility in that product or service. If people got value, then that company will succeed. So if you are helping other people, your company will succeed for the most part. For people are not forced against their will to buy your product or service. They are doing it voluntarily. So you are doing something right. Business is a remarkable thing. The more people that you can help, the more people buy your product and service, the richer you are going to get and the more rewards that you have. So that's just helping the maximum amount of people possible. That's a pretty wonderful thing, if you ask me. That progresses society to the highest degree.